when you sort the comments by new, every single comment, like 90% of them are like Nick mogged Piers, like Piers is out of his depth, he doesn't know what's going on. I don't understand how Nick has such a strong internet. Is it like astroturfing? Are there bots? Or is it legit? Is everybody in Pierce's comment section just pro Nick Fuentes?
Nick astroturf super, super hard. Yeah, like he has a very, very, very dedicated fan base. So 100 of his fans will amplify as much fandom as like 100,000 of some other people's fans. Like they're very deliberate about going to areas, spamming comments, making different accounts to do and everything else. That being said, I mean, he's getting more play on larger shows, so I'm sure he's also picking up some legitimately new fans as well. But
do you worry about him ever being like? Do you think he could be like a legitimate operator in the Republican Party? Like, have you seen that clip of him saying that phase 1 is over, now it's phase 2? What they're going to try to do is get all these groypers into institutions, into college campuses, into TPUSA and the Heritage Foundation, and essentially recreate what we saw with that. Remember that Politico article with the young Republican group chat? There were actually like 20 to 30-year-olds that were saying, "Oh, gas chambers." Blah, blah, blah. I think he wants to create that at scale. And he said to his audience, hide your power level until it's the right moment. And part of me was like, I legit think that there's a movement that he could build. I think it's not good. We need a strong counter argument.
Yeah, I think it's possible. But I think I still feel like that he's too extreme. Like it caps his growth quite a bit, at least with older people. I think with younger people, he can be very captivating, but these are like the least politically engaged audiences. But I mean, obviously, it's worth paying attention to. I'm curious, I guess, what you think. You're like,
I guess it's not really that big of a deal right now, right? I don't even know if it's a disagreement per se, but Nick Fuentes is worrying to me. I probably worry about him quite a bit more than other people. I think Nick is good when it comes to dividing the Republican Party. Right now, they are totally fractured. They might be at their weakest, but you don't want the Republican Party to recover after being fractured, because what they'll recover into, what happens afterwards, after they solidify again, I'm afraid that it's probably going to be a lot more Nick Fuentes sided than it is going to be Trump sided, right? AKA, it's going to be unironic, like ideological fascism rather than bumbling buffoons banging each other in a Cracker Barrel. Like, it's just not I think that's the worrying part.
My savior, the only person who actually is willing to like argue and debate these people and bring up actual points. One thing that I don't like that people do with Fuentes all the time is, this is like a debate strategy from like 10 years ago. It's where you load up like old clips of somebody to say like, you said this or you mentioned this about Nazism or black people or racism or whatever. And
his haircut's like visibly different. His set's like 5 years older. You're like, come on.
Yeah, and you can do it, but there's like two big problems. One is that you're avoiding talking about the actual things that he's talking about. So you're not actually giving any pushback. Like, I don't think fans of Nick Fuentes are ever being turned off by that. There might be some people who aren't aware of like the crazy stuff he said in the past, older people who are like, oh, this guy's probably not good. But obviously you're not turning off any of his current fan base. And then also I feel like one of the big problems with liberalism, broadly speaking, over the past like 15, 20 years has kind of been this assumed like end of history stance where liberalism is just so self-evidently awesome and great, we don't really need to defend it anymore. And when people get into that kind of lax mindset, they lose the ability to even argue against Holocaust revisionism or, ultra xenophobia. And I think that, as confident as I'll say that, like, I don't think that Fuentes can be a big person because of how radical his views are. I would have also said the same thing. I did say the same thing about Donald Trump. So yeah.
No, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Liberalism needs a rebranding. That is obvious as hell. Liberals for years have had this thing where they wag the finger, and I mean, that's why I originally started watching you, because you're one of the people that goes out and debates in these spaces, and I try to do that as well, to just argue for basic liberalism. I went to these Trump rallies, and I used to have this theory that if you word things in the correct way to any Trump supporter, that they will agree with some core liberal tenets, like the funding Ukraine shit, or like any of this. And honestly, we've lost some of that, obviously, because people are agreeing with some super, super illiberal shit at its core. But yeah, we need to really reclaim why immigration isn't bad, and not just economically, because now they're making these purely cultural arguments where some of them are willing to bite the bullet that they'll take the economic hit for some sort of like preserving culture. I don't know. The thing with Nick Fuentes is, obviously this all starts with the like foundation that I disagree with his worldview and everything, but he states it in a very intuitive and captivating way where he'll be like, don't you just want your kids to look like you? Like, don't you just want your kids to kind of look how you are? Am I really a bad guy for saying that? And I shit you not, that
Mockler was a Destiny fan back when he was a kid 2 years ago. Isn't he like 20 or?
Had like 190,000 likes on Instagram, and someone that I went to school with in high school liked it. And I'm like, oh, so we're just openly like saying that, normalizing it. And it's like he says it in a really intuitive way, and then you kind of dig a few layers deeper and you see those clips of what he actually means. So I think we need to have, just stronger principles when it comes to all this, stronger ways to
Yeah, I agree. Stronger principles, but also like all of the stuff that liberalism has given us, and I think defending liberal stuff, these are like good, cool things. And sometimes when I hear people, especially on the cultural side of things, defend stuff, it feels like a weighty moral obligation that's like a huge fucking drag. Like when somebody comes out and talks about, like, well, diversity is our greatest strength. Like it feels like I'm about to get lectured to about how we need to be less microaggressive, or it feels like this is like a burden that you have to bear, as opposed to, well, look at all the crazy different people in our country that sometimes they're really cool, sometimes they're not cool. Like there's a bunch of unique stuff that exists in the United States of America only because of like the huge amount of people that are in this country from different cultures. Like you walk around in cities like LA and New York City and everything else, and you see some of the most like diverse collections of people all getting along in the world. And I think there's like an advantage there, right? We host probably the greatest number of Hispanic neo-Nazi adjacent people in the entire world. That's a diversity thing, I feel like sometimes when we talk about like any liberal values, they come off as very finger wavy, and they come off as like a burden, as opposed to like, these are like good things, and sometimes there's like some obligation that you have to bear as well. But I mean, that's going to be true of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the whole, like, liberalism also kind of is facing an uphill battle in any single algorithm, because no matter what platform you're on, you get incentivized to say the most extreme shit. So I don't know. I think that the clipping structure on the left, this is more of like a meta, like the clipping atmosphere of it all. But that's something I've been trying to work on, is have a few different editors who can clip and distribute stuff, because Charlie Kirk and all these people were just so ahead on all of this. I don't know, just basic liberal core tenets, and we're missing that. We're fighting an uphill battle every single day when Elon Musk can go on Twitter and just smack everybody with so much goddamn volume, and then our worldview isn't really promoted in the same way.
They are fighting a very hardcore uphill battle, that's for sure. Like, I don't envy being in their position. Yeah. If I had a choice to choose to be Destiny or choose to be me, Foodshops, if there is no choice to opt out of the political activism, I probably wouldn't choose. I probably wouldn't choose being Destiny, gonna be honest. This constant uphill struggle, especially when you're passionate about politics, is too much.
I don't know if you get this impression now, having participated on, some of these more mainstream media panels and being in front of the camera and behind the scenes and everything else. This weird double standard where conservatives can go, like conservative lawmakers, Trump, Mike Johnson, cabinet members, Hegseth, Besant, or whatever, can go on TV and be interviewed and just say the most outlandishly false stuff or stupid stuff ever and never, ever, ever get real pushback. It's gotten like, if 0 is no pushback and 100 is like too much and like 50 is perfect, it's at like 2 now. Okay, I've seen a couple people. There's is it Katie Collins? And there's like one other guy who do a good job at like pushing back, but everybody else is like, oh, like, can you explain what you mean when you say this thing? And it's like, oh, well, Bitcoin will save America. It's like, well, I don't know if that's true. It's like, it is. Next question. Like, okay, it'll just be like the most outlandishly stupid stuff in the world. And they never actually are held to account for it. And then meanwhile, it feels like and that's on like liberal news networks, on right-wing networks, it's just propaganda 24/7. Yeah. But then when the liberals show up on the left-wing or liberal news networks, it's like, it's still like a really brutal, like everybody's so eager to show that they don't have Trump derangement syndrome, that they're not like a hyper-partisan far left person, that they're criticizing the left so much. I don't know. I just think I don't know what Jake Tapper's problem is. Was it Tapper that quote tweeted the Democrats when Obama was like feeding veterans or taking a picture of it? And he's like, this, with all due respect, Democrats, this isn't what Veterans Day is about. And I was like, are you fucking serious, dude?
Yeah, the double standard shit's bad. I think it might be an access thing with like if you're too mean to Trump, he'll really kick you out of the room. But also, even if you're nice to Trump and you're a woman journalist, he'll still call you something like a piggy. He's attacked like 6 women journalists over the past month because he's demented as hell. But yeah, there's this really bad double standard that I've tried to illustrate in these debates where they'll endlessly criticize liberals for saying some shit, and Donald Trump said it 10 times worse. The one thing that you can always ask them, and there's no example that they have, is when Donald Trump sent out that DM to Pam Bondi, and
the one about the lawyer you need to hire and the 3 people you need to indict, that one, or
and then 2 out of those 3 people were indicted because
by the same prosecutor they called out to indict them. Sorry.
Yeah, he forced Eric Siebert out as the Eastern District of Virginia federal prosecutor. He had Lindsay Halligan put into place, and then they.
I can't be the only one that thinks of Adam Mockler as somebody who looks like he is like young Elon Musk, right? Or is that too cursed?
Forced through 2 of these indictments, and then one of the grand juries, they didn't even do it right. Only 2 people in the grand jury saw the actual indictment because she had never stepped foot in a courtroom.
Yeah, because they dropped one of the charges off the superseding indictment or whatever, and they only showed it to but it doesn't matter because now she's not even appointed legally. So
it's a sloppy authoritarian process. But the worst part is they think that Merrick Garland did like 10 times worse. They think Merrick Garland or like anyone in Biden's DOJ was doing shit like this on a daily basis. And you can always just ask them like, what is the equivalent in the Biden admin? And there's a few things that they say. What is there one example of? Oh, Biden privately expressed anger. That
Pisco did this. Oh, bro, are you serious?
Privately
there was a news article that said that behind closed doors, Biden was upset about.
How closely do you guys think Adam Mockler follows? Do you think that he just listens to him all the time when he's in the car or when he's driving somewhere? Or do you think that he downloads Destiny VODs when he is in the airplane flying to another like debate location or something, just so then he has something to listen to? What do you think is the extent of like Adam Mockler's engagement with Destiny? Or is it rather just like completely on and off and at a bare minimum level? I think he watches the videos. Okay.
I think it had to do with Merrick Garland, and was it related to Hunter Biden, or was it the January 6th stuff? Was it? Yeah,
January 6th.
That was it. No story confirming that they communicated. Like, he's not allowed to be upset. One thing
he doesn't seem like to me to be a leftist, nor is someone who is leaning in that direction. Destiny just brought a Pisco to him, and he isn't questioning who Pisco is. Maybe he knows who Pisco is before. Makes you think.
You're saying, I say all this stuff too, where I always go like, oh, well, let's compare. I got a debate coming up with Dinesh D'Souza, and that's my whole debate thing. It's like, here's 5 things. Let's compare. Find me an equivalent on the other side. Oh, fuck, I just lost my point. Dude, there's a million things when you talk to these people that they're just... So, another thing that I'll point out is when you talk about what the Democrats can do and what the Republicans can do, what the Democrats are constrained by is the highest moral compulsion you can ever place on a leader. What should they do? What ought the most morally responsible person do at any point in time? And then when you turn to Trump, it is, what is the most outer perimeter legally conceivable thing he can do, right? So if Biden comes on TV and he says something about, oh God, that one. They have the zoom in with the red background or whatever, and he says the thing about like, MAGA Americans, and he's talking about people that deny the fucking election, which most of them still do to this day, by the way. And they'll point to that over and over and over and over again. And it's like, okay, well, you know, he shouldn't have said that. It was mean. It was horrible. It's like, what about when Trump sued Seltzer because he didn't like the poll? What about when Trump is awarding money to all of these people? And it's like, well, is he not legally allowed to do that? Can the president not sue people? Are people? Oh, I thought this was America. Is he not allowed to call reporters stupid? It's like, okay, well, as long as he's allowed to conceivably do it, and with the Supreme Court, who knows what he's not allowed to do? Yeah, they defend it. It drives me insane.
What we're talking about right now is kind of what blackpills me the most out of the current state of American politics. It blackpills me the most. Like, I'll be laying there at night and I'll be thinking about how Donald Trump can do so much shit on a daily basis, whether it's his cryptocurrency or all of the shit that he does every single day. He weaponizes every single agency, and yet people just both sides that shit. I don't know. It really, really does bother me. But let's get to the actual real adult stuff, because someone said, where do you contribute to the fundraiser? Someone just texted me that. Have you promoted the fundraiser yet?
No, wait, hold on.
But do we do our debate prep like on stream or off stream? How does it usually?
Do you even debate prep these days?
Yes.
Okay.
Prep is very important to me.
Okay. I feel like there are so many examples. I do as well, obviously, but it's usually just focused around like rhetoric stuff, because I feel like if you get into any...
Nah, bro, dude. Destiny probably does too much debate prep. Dude, he spends an inordinate amount of time doing debate prep only to show up to the debate, and like you could have had a good debate without any kind of prep in any way whatsoever. And yeah, I don't know. A lot of times he seems to be over prepping.
Examples on anything. It's brutal. Like, I feel almost bad sometimes. When you start pulling out examples, it's just like literally impossible to defend anything in this administration. And the go-to, I think you've run into this a few times with that. Is it the Ken guy? Is that what his name is?
Jennings.
Yeah, Jennings. The conservatives have the unbeatable debate strategy. I should have never said this on stream because they all heard me and they use it even more now. It's the I haven't heard of that thing. And it is unbelievable sometimes how much people have not heard of, like the Eric Adams stuff, anything having to do with J6. Like there's so many things. Jesus.
I got to use it though. When someone asked me about the Ukrainian lady that got stabbed on the bus, I was like, I haven't heard of that case. It felt really cathartic.
Oh, no.
Even though it's a really fucked up case, but I was like, hadn't heard of it.
If any debate opponent actually watched Destiny's debate prep, they'll know all of his points. Just saying. I
just don't hear Andrew, not to be mean, I don't try to be mean, but I don't hear him debate on the substance very often. I feel like he kind of relies on like the philosophy tricks or like the logic tricks, basically.
Nah, it's okay to be mean to Andrew Wilson. Fuck that guy.
The goal is to get them defending the Trump administration.
Actual piece of shit. The saddest thing about Andrew Wilson's debates is that they're just boring because of the definition critique. Yeah, and then he'll say that you haven't made an argument, and he doesn't debate on the substance. He does the debate bro strat, and then he'll pretend that he won the debate. He's not a very good debater. Yeah,
like how do you think the narrative will be written about January 6th in history? Are we going to win the narrative on that one? Are you ever going to release your video? I think that's the one thing.
Oh, we're trolling now? Okay.
That's the bulwark between history remembering it.
You would need to watch Destiny. He's giving signs that he probably watches Destiny more than I thought he did.
We have a really big win in the midterms and then maybe even in 2028. And we're like, okay, well, that's good. Well, we won. The American people showed that they rebuked Trump and we don't have to worry about it anymore. But like all of the Republicans have learned their lesson. Like, well, this is what we can get away with. So why wouldn't we do it again?
Yeah, like a return to normality. If we have another Biden-type president who tries to go back to the status quo, that was a huge mistake. I think that Biden's presidency not only was a huge mistake on that, but I've been thinking a lot about just his pitfalls, and I feel like he fucked up on immigration a lot. He should have had a lot more clarity about that. It's almost like he was too scared to come off as like xenophobic in the post-Trump era, so he just didn't talk about it as much, and then it kind of got out of control. Obviously, the open border shit isn't true, but as I've thought about it more, I just feel like that wasn't good. The inflation wasn't his fault mainly, but he got blamed for that. He obviously couldn't communicate near the end of his term. But
I mean, that's kind of true. This is an unpopular one. I would never argue this on a big media show or whatever, but like the illegal immigration thing, that was a fabricated issue thrown up by the conservatives. And the reason why I know this is because one, they've barely deported anybody and they all pretend the problem was fixed. So was it never a real problem in the first place? Two, people in swing states cared about that way more than they should have. I do not believe that there was a Mexican underground railroad, okay, that were funneling illegal immigrants up to Pennsylvania. I don't think that was happening, okay? And then number three, every time Trump brings up illegal immigrants, there were more and more that came in. Initially when he was running, I think he said 15 or maybe 20 million. The last time I heard him say it was 30 million. So I don't even know what it's going to be by the end. 30 million illegal immigrants. A tenth of the US population is illegal immigrants. Like, it doesn't even make sense.
I think Biden probably could have had a little bit more moral clarity on the border, though. Like, even if he didn't change any laws, I feel like just talking about it more deters people from coming. I don't know. Like,
I agree with you, but we're in this world where it's like, what could Biden have done to be better? But
I don't think I agree with that. Like, if we were to talk about Biden's pitfalls, I think it's better to talk about, I think Biden could have been edgier. That's my only issue with the Biden presidency. If we're going to be talking about like what he could have done better, I think that he could have been edgier. I think he could have been more merciless. I think he could have broken more rules. But this is me being a hindsight Andy, so who's to say, right? Maybe if I was like Biden's advisor during that time, I would have also been like, you know what, we should try to bring the temperature back down. We should try to appeal to the moderates a bit more. Maybe I could have been like somebody like that, right? However, I think looking back, if I somehow had a time machine and traveled back to the past to advise Biden, I think one of the biggest things is you need to be a dictator. I think you need to push the ante up. I think you need to become the person that everybody say that you are. I think that you need to take all of that built up resentment and unleash it in a cascade of death. I think that you should be merciless, right? Because fuck the double standards, right? But this is obviously me talking in hindsight.
Like, we're comparing this to, like, imagine somebody working so hard to prepare the perfect pasta dish, and like the spaghetti sauce is like a little bit too sweet, and you're like come down and it was like, I'm gonna have to actually eat like the bowl of gaping diarrhea instead. Like, that's the comparison. Because Biden had to deal with so much stuff: the Ukraine-Russia war, the October 7th, the recovering from COVID. He still got tons of legislation passed. He had to do the pullout from Afghanistan that was on Trump's timetable. We had like 3 or 4 huge bills. Like, there was so much stuff, and the economy after all of this was still rebounding. And he did it without attacking Republicans or trying to besmirch or demean conservatives. And everybody was working against him the whole time. His family was being investigated. He got investigated for documents. Hunter Biden was being investigated on a claim that was, now we know, was made up by a confidential informant. The House Republicans and Gomer and Jordan are, I'm sorry, I'm just saying, it's not a fair game. It's just like, he had to deal with so much. Donald Trump gets 12 months to return documents to NARA, can't do it, and is lying about it the whole time. He's like, I was unfairly prosecuted. It's like, give me a break.
I just think when Trump gets into office and he's able to close the border with some really easy like executive orders, and he uses a bunch of rhetoric.
I think Steven is a fan of Adam Mockler, just like how Adam Mockler is a fan of Steven. I think they should kiss and make up. I'm kidding.
That acts as a deterrent. It kind of made Biden's border policy look a little bit weak. And I know that it's more complicated than that. I understand that people were abusing the asylum process. It was shit like that. But I just think it's the same thing as like, well, this is a really bad example, but when Donald Trump signed, when he got that Israel-Gaza peace deal like a month or so back, and they put his face everywhere, I know it was short-lived. It was like 48 hours, but I remember thinking, wow. I remember speaking to some, they were like, wow, Biden looks really bad in this moment. But overall, I don't know. I just think that Trump has also undone a lot of Biden's landmark legislation too. It's all really blackpilling. Biden's presidency was solid. He was good, but he fucked up in a few key areas, I think. And it really manifested when the next election came around. Like when Biden didn't have the clarity on immigration, Trump was able to use rhetoric that was so far right that people didn't really have a good alternative. Like what was Biden's message on immigration last election? I don't even know. I guess.
I mean, like the immigrant, he had a message on 50 million other things. But I mean, they had a bill that they tried to pass at the end that Trump literally had no problem sinking.
Like at the end, though, I know I've used that same talking point, the Langford border bill. I've used the same point, trust me. But I just think like 3 years into it, really, like that's Biden's, I don't know. And this is me doing my most charitable, like this is me criticizing Biden in the most charitable Republican lens. I'd be like, yeah, I think his immigration policy might have been a bit bad. Other than that, he mogs Trump on everything. Obviously, Trump's an idiot.
Yeah. I guess my issue is like I don't even know what to point to for Trump. And as the years go on, like I can still point to more and more things. Like Donald Trump's first, Donald Trump's illegal immigration numbers were rising by year 3. I think that on his 3rd year, I think it might have been worse than Obama's last term was in terms of illegals that were coming through. And I think it's the same on the deficit as well. So like Trump didn't even do that well on his first term. And then the Republicans like to play this game where every single bad thing about Trump for all 4 years of his presidency, they'll blame it on COVID. But then as soon as Biden is in office, COVID like doesn't exist anywhere. I've like played,
they removed the variable.
Yeah, like I play this game where I'll even talk. I think I did this on one of my events where I even said to the audience, I was like, watch this. And I asked the guy, I was like, what do you think contributed, the main thing that contributed to inflation under Biden? And the guy was like, I don't know, the spending. And it's like, anything else? It's like, the deficit, anything else? It's like mind wiped as soon as Biden comes into office. And then I remember listening to Dave Smith said this on Piers Morgan, where Dave Smith said, like, we can't have another Democratic president. Like, this is all like the censorship and everything's out of control. People don't remember 2020 was the worst year in censorship we've ever had in the history of the United States. Or people will blame the lockdowns on Biden. It's like, do you guys remember that Donald Trump was the president in 2020? Donald Trump was the president for the lockdowns? How does nobody remember any of this?
Yeah, that's another example of that.
It was Trump was responsible for Operation Warp Speed, which is like one of the few things that Trump has done, which is like actively beneficial to the American people. And people forgot that, forgot about that. They'll say that Donald Trump's Operation Warp Speed was amazing, but then when Biden came into office and continued Trump's Operation Warp Speed, then they'll say that Biden's COVID policies fucking suck ass. Just end me. It makes no sense. Yeah.
That is such a good example. Every single time we point to Donald Trump weaponizing the FCC or weaponizing something around him, they say, what about the Twitter files? What about Twitter this or Twitter that? I think that's the first thing when Pete Buttigieg went on the All In podcast. The first thing they pressed him on was the Twitter files or like Twitter being suppressed. or the government reaching out. And then they use that as a justification for every single crazy thing that Trump has said, like having his FCC chair, Brendan Carr.
Now they hate that Trump did Warp Speed because they're anti-vax law. You sure about that?
Like openly threaten Jimmy Kimmel in his show. They openly talk about all this shit. These are some really good examples of I don't know, like authoritarianism as well. If that's what we're going to debate.
I mean, yeah, I think the big issue is that, yeah, you have to dive into everything, because when anybody brings up the Twitter files, you can ask them, did you read any of them? Because like oh god, what's the name of the guy that did the main one about whether or not the laptop story was intentionally censored or anything?
100%.
Taibbi,
okay,
right?
You could
Yeah.
be right. Let me check.
When you read what Taibbi wrote in the Twitter files, he literally said explicitly, he said there was no FBI involvement in censoring the New York Post story about the laptop. And he had all the emails that show them going back and forth. We don't know what to do about this. It does look pretty weird. And nobody seems to acknowledge that. They just say, well, there was a ton of they'll say things like there was a ton of pressure from the White House. Like, the White House didn't tell them to censor or ban anything, right? And like, well, no, but the CDC was making
That divided is getting booed at his own rallies.
recommendations on misinformation, and that can count as pressure. And it's like, okay, well, what about when Trump is literally suing people for saying things he doesn't like?
Right.
Well, is Trump not legally allowed to do that? They switch from the moral framing to the well, what is he legally allowed to do framing, and it's so frustrating.
Sam Harris has a really good way of approaching this. He was on, what is her podcast called? Constantine's podcast with the other guy. Trigonometry. And no, he did really well. Sam Harris is really smooth with it. He had a lot of moral clarity in the way that he spoke. And he was like, listen, there are times where maybe previous administrations have slightly overreached. He was able to make this slight concession, even if he wouldn't make that concession. But then he was able to really bring it back and show that what Trump's done is 10 times worse. It's really worth a watch. He's able to cut through a lot of the bullshit on that podcast. It came out a few weeks back. But I think that, I think that a lot of the messaging struggles over the next few years for Democrats, it's all going to be about affordability. That's really the thing that's going to hit home, because the economy is not getting any better. Trump says affordability is a con job. That's what every single ad around the midterms is going to be saying. Affordability is a con job. That statement of Trump saying it. As prices get worse, as Trump is rolling back some of his tariffs, and everything in the store, save egg prices, is up. Unemployment is up among young Americans and Black Americans. And I think unemployment among Black Americans being up is an early indicator of a weakening economy.
Sure.
So
I've heard the same thing said. I haven't looked into it, but I've heard the same thing said about military recruitment as well, that they try to park their car on those numbers. We're recruiting more than ever for the military. It's because somebody can find jobs. The tariffs aren't helping. I hate Besant and
I think we're due for another recession anyway. Let it come.
Lutnick. Watching either of these guys talk about.
I once worried about recessions because I was trying to find a job in computer programming, because that's what I majored in. At first, I was genuinely trying to aim for that, but then I think now, since my my career is more entertainment related and commentary related, I think now I want the recession to come, because now I don't personally get to suffer from it, and I want others to suffer for it.
Anything about finance or the economy drives me so crazy.
Besant is surprisringly uncharismatic. Not to be an asshole, but every time he talks, he's really stiff, and I'm like, this guy.
Besant?
Trump is Besant. Yeah,
Oh,
he's the one that's really unccharismatic. He's like, I don't know. He speaks I don't know.
What was the last analogy? He tried to do a thing with I wish I remember the name of the lady. She asked him a question about something to do with the tariff or the budget or something, and he was like, oh God, what did you say? Do you know how much your arm weighs or something? Do you remember this?
No, I don't know.
Every time they're posting stuff about the economy, they always have the wackiest and craziest ways to try to cope about whatever the numbers are. The fact that we just lost the October jobs report and we're just not going to get the official numbers on that. Just okay, whatever, dude.
It's kind of fucked up.
I'm not. Listen, I'm good. Okay, JW. Okay. Right now, I'm not searching for a job anytime soon. Unless somehow my career dies instantly.
What do you think of the direction of the Democratic Party is?
No
So
reason.
obviously the most right now, Gavin Newsom in most prediction markets will be ahead as the Democratic primary winner of 2028. But in 3 years or 2.5 years, whatever the hell, who knows if this resist lib shit is going to be in? Who knows if we're all going to be super resist lib, Gavin Newsom? Who knows if we want him on the national?
I'm currently in one of these career industry things that is one of the very few careers that will benefit off of suffering. Okay? Don't ruin this for me.
Stage. Do you think it goes to more of a populist candidate? Obviously, new people can arise. If you would have asked this in 2012 or 2013, no one would have said Trump. If you would have asked this in 2005, no one would have said Obama. So it's hard to tell. But overall, vibe of the base, it seems like anti-APAC is a winner right now, but I don't know if that's just over-indexed online, maybe. Maybe
I
I'm
feel
just
like when
seeing
you
too
look
much
at
shit on
polls that rate like how important, like there'll be like leanings towards Palestine away from Israel, all this, and people will have these feelings, especially in the Democratic Party. But like how much voters care about this stuff? It'll be like 6% rank it as their number one issue or something. It's like it's pretty far behind like 5 or 6 other big issues. I think the big thing that I try to keep people in on, and I don't think the Democrats necessarily need to do this, but the Republicans have a very slick messaging apparatus that works all in unison with each other. When Trump is saying shit, every single person in alternative media, mainstream media, every lawmaker, you know, Mike Johnson on down, like everybody is repeating the exact same talking point. And what you do when you do this is you have this really strong arm where every time the Republicans put anybody out, it could be not Tim Pool or candidates, these people. Now, there's some fracturing there. It used to be. It's gotten really bad after Marjorie Taylor Greene left, especially. But prior to this, like the Republicans can throw anybody out there, and no matter what they say, every single Republican will be on point immediately trying to defend it.
Yeah.
Whereas on the left, if anybody on the left goes out, even if you say correct stuff, you're still going to have to fend off like 50% of the attacks are just going to come from your side for no reason. And then, you know, God forbid you say something wrong or incorrect, like you're going to get crucified by your side.
Test him, Destiny. Test whether or not he's a leftist. Do it now. Ask him about Israel and Palestine. It's time to test his loyalty to you, okay?
For, you know, whatever reason. Like I think Jake Tapper is working on his 7th anti-Biden book right now about how horrible his senility was and everything. And it's like Donald Trump could come out in a wheelchair and, you know, not be able to speak. And Trumples would call him like Stephen Hawking 2.0. Like they would have a story ready to go. They would laugh at me about it, and they'd be all on board with it. Honestly, I think I actually got into arguments with this. This is another, I would never argue this, I think, on TV or whatever, because it's just a hard one to carry. Intuitively, people feel bad about it. But I'll challenge people on this. People say things like, oh, Biden was definitely senile at the end of his term. My statement to them is, I can give you more evidence that Trump is senile than Biden was at his worst. And then my challenge is, can you show me something beyond just him having that really bad debate performance? Because we've got Trump mixing up names, thinking he's going to Russia when he's going to Alaska, mixing up names of countries that he said he solved, you know, wars with. The guy looks like he's, you know, constantly on the verge of or just recovered from some kind of, you know, transient ischemic attack. Like there's so many things. The guy's lied about his medical record, right? The exploding ankles and everything. Apparently he didn't tell us that, even though he was supposed to be in perfect health. But people accept all these things because I think the liberal media unfortunately plays into it as well. It's like we have to be critical of our own side. And I don't know how we combat that without being more aware of it at least.
Yeah, I remember you told me one time.
Exploding ankle?
Or you might have been reviewing one of my debates and I was watching it or something. You were like, when a conservative is saying, the question to ask the conservative is, if Trump were to do this, if Trump were serious about this, would you still defend it? When the conservative says, oh, Trump isn't being serious about invading Canada, Trump isn't being serious about doing that, but it's like, if he were being serious, you would still defend him on that. And that's the problem. I feel like I need to start using that one on TV more. But yeah, right now it's just like, I feel like a lot of these operators on TV, their job is to just muddy the waters at the very least. Like when I'm debating against these people on CNN, how I view it is, obviously you want to get the win, but their job isn't even to get the win. It's just to muddy the waters on these strikes or muddy the waters on some of these things so people don't have clarity on what actually happened. There's something I talk about on my show a lot when it pertains to algorithms. It's like the pipeline to volume theory of algorithms. I'm always chatting about this. It's that conservatives have a really good pipeline that they pull people down and they just hit you with a shit ton of volume. So some good examples of this are if somebody is a young dude and he has dating problems and he's looking up good dating advice online, it sucks him down this pipeline to Andrew Tate inevitably, and then you're getting advice from like the Andrew Tate types. Or if you're a young dude who wants to work out a lot, like I see my young friends liking workout reels, it takes you to Make America Healthy Again, and then it hits you with volume. It's happening with young women who just had kids. It's making them like anti-vax or like really skeptical of certain medicines that
birth control is a big one that they'll
take.
also fight with on women on too. That makes you crazy and mind controls you. That Lindsay Lee or somebody Lee? I remember she was talking to Anna Kasparian about how she was a big person, I guess, in the Democratic National Committee or whatever, and she left and said that she was mind controlled for 10 years by birth control, and that's why she was making bad decisions.
Lindsay Lee.
That one,
that's crazy.
That person.
But then, like, when people are like, or I have friends that are anti-APAC. They suck down the pipeline, and now they're watching Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes, or they're just Christian, and now they're watching Charlie Kirk clips. And then once they suck you down the pipeline, they have so much volume. Like, think about how much Elon Musk tweets on a daily basis. Probably about 50 times every day, and each tweet gets 18 million views, 10 million views, 300,000 likes. Think about how many unique clips there are of Charlie Kirk, not just like repost clips, but unique clips of him, probably like 10,000, probably like 5 to 10,000 clips of him just debating college students. So that goes back to what I was saying earlier. For every clip that Charlie Kirk has of him dunking on MLK Jr.'s corpse or whatever, we should have 5 clips of us explaining Black American history and how important it is to know that redlining existed. I don't know, like systemic racism, for example, I think that term's probably got to go, but the concept of systemic racism, it's so intuitive and so true. Black Americans were oppressed for a few hundred years. Laws like redlining have put Black people at a disadvantage. That's the narrative that we need to be spreading to combat some of this really ultra racist shit that's being clipped up all the time. And that's an intuitive narrative, but we're not really getting out there taking advantage of the systems in the same way. And that's something that we're trying to fix. So like I'm hiring a few editors, and in 2026, we really want to scale up the operation so that we have, I'm doing these debates, say our debate on the 20th, be there, people that are watching. And then we have my Jubilee coming out in like early January. So imagine like all these clips are ideally being clipped up.
You ended up in my top 5 YouTube channels watched, and it got me roasted in the Destiny subreddit. Yeah, people don't like me. I'm sorry.
and spread around in a really, really solid way. Like with MeidasTouch, we work with Asen on Twitter, and he's a really good, effective clipper. But of mainstream media, we want to create our own version of that for alt media, and yeah, create these pipelines of our own. Obviously, it's a simplification of what happens when I say this pipeline thing, but like I've seen my friends do it. I see so many of my friends liking Nick Fuentes reels or liking Maha reels. Friends that I used to know in high school that were never really inherently political. They just think Nick Fuentes is funny or what he's saying is funny, and it's definitely not good that we're losing the clipping war this hard. And also, our candidate in 2024, as much as I think Kamala did well for 107 days, like she did what she needed. She did well, but she was obviously a bit too scripted, and she didn't go into a lot of the places, the high risk places that she needed.
I'm just gonna say it, this entire right-wing retardation is not organic. It's not a mere reaction to wokeness. It's amplified outrage and manufactured garbage. It's also pushed heavily by foreign forces.
So we need less of these risk-averse candidates. We need people who are out there, like whoever is not risk-averse in 2028 and is willing to go in these places and take these risks. I'm totally for. Anyone who runs on like dumping Trump's jet into the Trump's Qatari jet, Miller and his wife and his kids,
and Hegseth and everybody involved with. Oh, you're joking? Oh, just kidding. Okay. Yeah.
I was joking about the kids part. The kids part was a joke, but yeah, Stephen Miller can.
So I agree with everything you're saying, but I still think all of this comes from, it's like a byproduct of the insane amount of synergy that all of these people have with each other. Yeah. And I think that because they have this synergy, all of this other stuff just effortlessly
Sorry if I'm not commenting too much. Typically, I like commenting on things that are stuff I disagree with. Not only do I have a headache, but in addition to watching people I pretty much agree with everything on. So there's not much I can do. I'm sorry.
Flows. And it's really nice because it invites
Sorry if I'm not transforming the content
other people into the media apparatus to work with them as well. So for instance, when you bring up like these pipelines that take you to all these different areas, RFK Jr. or Andrew Tate or Michael Knowles, Kevin Knowles? Michael Knowles, right?
Yeah.
Noel Shapiro. Like one thing that the conservatives do really well, I point this out a lot. When it comes to the far left online, the far left, they're playing like kind of like a social game. It's like faux political. It kind of looks like politics, but it's not really, because they don't actually care if they win or lose elections. They never care if they win or lose elections. They only care about the social media games. The conservatives only care about winning elections. They don't care about anything else, even if it means accepting people in their movement that they are ideologically fundamentally opposed to, which you're starting to see cracks of that showing quite a bit now. But as a result of that, what happens is if there are like 10 people that heavily ideologically disagree with each other, as long as they're all supporting Trump, they generally just kind of stay away from each other. You're not seeing a ton of content. Every now and then, Ben Shapiro might say something bad about like Andrew Tate, like, well, we shouldn't support this type of, immorality or whatever. But for the most part, these guys kind of all stay away from each other and they congeal into this collection of content where they're all in their own lanes doing everything. Because at the end of the day, they know they're all for supporting Donald Trump. Whereas on the left, my God, like we are fighting over.
Yes, Stephen, do the test. Do the test, Stephen. Stephen, you have to put him through the test. Ask him the question, his opinion on Hassan.
So many different things constantly. You've got, the New York Times attacking Gavin Newsom because he said, well, maybe trans athletes was like a step too far for NCAA stuff. It's like, this is what we're fighting over. You've got the Jake Tapper book on Biden. You've got like all of these different parts of the media. And I bring this up to say that I agree that Kamala was too skittish when it came to going on podcasts. I would agree with that. But also, like, how easy for Trump. You go on Lex Friedman. When I went on Lex Friedman, I had to spend an hour
I don't think Mockler likes Hassan at all.
talking about why I use the word retarded, I think. And Donald Trump did a 45-minute interview where he got no pushback from anything. From Lex Friedman, the dove. He got no pushback on almost anything. And Donald Trump's the guy who called...
Well, because Lex Friedman is literally a grifter. And he's insecure about his own masculinity.
People bad names. That's what he does, And Kamala Harris, when she goes anywhere, you have the whole games that they were playing to schedule them with Joe Rogan. You know that wherever you're going to go, it's probably going to be a rough show if they're like a centrist-y thing. You know that people on the left are going to attack you. Your staffers aren't going to be happy with it because they all trend in the further left direction. Conservatives are going to be attacking everything. It's so easy.
Does Adam pass the Dan Saltman test? I don't know if Adam should respond to terrorists.
You're conservative to go out and do whatever you want because there are no standards. I don't care. As long as you support Trump, you're good. Any accusation, any whatever, any conviction, you can be a 34 convicted felon, whatever, it's fine. And when you live in that world, just everything becomes easier. One other example.
Oh yeah, I want to be very clear, okay? Because I have been covering Destiny drama for quite a long time. Frankly, I don't even care if Destiny is a defender of the highest order. I will vote for him if he does run against a Republican. Even if he is a child, I will vote for him against a Republican. Okay? Because that is the standards that they have set. They would vote for Roy Moore, an offending pet who actually has a controversy behind it, and we won by slim margins at that time? Fuck me, dude. Forget about it. All right.
Like, it was so funny. Democrats will get around and they'll do this thing actually similar to what we're doing right now. We'll be like, how do we get our messaging better? What do we do? Why did Biden fail so much in messaging? How do we help the messaging? Conservatives never talk about that because they are the messaging and they know it. They are the messaging. Like, Fox News would ever sit there and think like, man, why does Trump suck at messaging so much? They would think, man, we got to message better for Trump.
Okay.
Another example. You're never going to find like a Dominion lawsuit equivalent on the Democrat side, right? The closest you can get is maybe the Donna Brazile thing, but that was the Democrats against the Democrats. Like, it wasn't even close to the Dominion story. It's so bad. Jesus.
And now, speaking of like the Lex Friedman thing, now Trump called Tim Walz retarded. And the crazy thing is, people are driving by Tim Walz's house and screaming that at him, and people on Fox News and Ben Shapiro and Don Jr. are making fun of that, which I feel like,
Jesus.
okay, whatever, trolly funny, but I feel like 10 years ago, that would be unthinkable. Like, they're driving by people's houses.
Roy Moore was 8 years ago. I know. I'm old. Okay? I'm old. I get it. I understand. All right? I get it. I'm old.
Yelling stuff at them,
Jesus.
yelling the word retard at Tim Walz and his kids or whatever. And that's just something that Don Jr., the son of the president, can laugh at. This is some crazy, crazy shit. I'm really sick of the double standards, how violence is. I mean, honestly, if I were somebody who were apolitical, I think about this lens a lot. Like, I think about if I were an apolitical young dude, if I were 23 years old and I weren't firmly in my liberal position, I would probably have been bullied into being MAGA at this point because of the way that people talk about young dudes. Like, not to be dramatic or whatever, but I've been called like a fascist sympathizer, fascist. You shouldn't believe that shit. And I'm the most like wholesome liberal, whatever the hell. Like, I'm not ever running defense for any of that shit. But no, I mean, the way that I've been, number one, pushed or like talked about by far, far left-leaning people, but also, if I were somebody who were apolitical over the past 2 years, I would think that left-wingers are responsible for violence. I would think that Trump tried to get assassinated. There were 2 assassination attempts against Trump. I don't know the details about who tried to do this. I just assume that it's probably a left person. Then Charlie Kirk got killed for just speaking at a college campus. I don't really know many of the details. I'm assuming it's going to be a slightly left-leaning person.
You're not beating the allegations? I don't want to beat the allegation.
And then you see like BLM, I don't know, it's just really hard to illustrate. And what are you going to compare that to, like the Tree of Life synagogue that happened in a few years back during Trump's first term? Like, this is a really good example. I have all these examples. There's a Walmart in El Paso, Texas that got shot up by somebody who's a legit white. Of course, these are great examples.
The guy who literally was on camera, like, I think passing by a white guy saying like, oh, I'm not here for you, just for the black people. Like, that was... Jesus.
How do you break through with this shit? It's like, I don't know, most people intuitively, if I were a young 23-year-old dude, I am, but we're apolitical, I would think that liberals are kind of lame. So we got to reclaim that shit. And, or I don't know, it just feels like it's an uphill battle sometimes. Maybe I'm a bit too nihilistic and black pill, but right now I'm trying to be as charitable to the MAGA narrative as possible. And when I see my, not being charitable, but when I see my high school friends who are apolitical like this stuff, I'm trying to step into their shoes and see how charitable they would be to the MAGA narrative, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's hard because at the end of the day, like you said, a lot of it comes down to just like heavy factual stuff. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes down to like civics that people don't understand either. Like, there are some things where if you understand the civics, like Donald Trump's personal lawyer making a phone call to anybody in any official capacity is immediately just the worst thing in the world. But like, to explain like, well, why is it not proper? Well, if he's got lawyers.
Do you guys remember when Donald Trump made a call to Zelensky asking for dirt on Joe Biden? You guys remember that? Man, that felt like ages ago. Probably because it is. It's years ago at this point. Yeah, it's been years. Oh my God. Dude, just end me.
In the Department of Justice, what's the difference between that and Giuliani, his personal friend, who, you know, he used to be in politics? Isn't it the same thing? Like, it's hard to illustrate to people like why you should have this immediate revulsion. Or a lot of people don't understand how like the Electoral College works. So why was the trying to rig the 2020 election that Trump did? Why was that so bad?
Wasn't it Trump's personal lawyer who called? Right. Just blame everybody except for Trump himself. Been a working strategy. It worked.
You know, didn't Hawaii do the same thing? You have to chew through so much propaganda.
Hillary Clinton, in one interview in 2016, called Trump an illegitimate president. So the fake electoral scheme is
isn't that the same thing? Yeah, and it's like, oh my God. But
legit, someone tried to pull it out on CNN recently, and I was like, I don't want to do this right now. Legit, I was like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah,
it's just so fucking dumb.
And it's crazy too because they say these things, and it's like, well, hold on.
Yeah,
you're saying because Republicans, dude, they're so good. They're so good. I'm jealous. Okay, they're just so good. Okay, they say these things where they get to choose who represents us. So they'll choose the far left, people who are politically ineffective. So they choose who represents us, and then they force us to either defend quasi-positions of theirs or positions that are adjacent to it, or explain why we don't defend those positions. And so the conversation is already one-sided. I bring this up a lot, that when you're playing defense, the best you can do is like lose no ground. That's it. You never gain any ground because you're always on the defense on every crazy lunatic thing that they find some random person online to say. And then you don't actually, but they know, when you talk on their side, they know how ridiculous this is. So for instance, you bring up the 2 great examples are, one is the Hillary Clinton illegitimate president thing about Trump, right? Oh, okay, so Hillary Clinton said that. Well, that's crazy that you're saying that. How many, can we look at the Democratic Party, either lawmakers or people who thought that Donald Trump literally, rigged the election? And it's like the percentages aren't really that high. Like, that isn't there. Or when you look at the COVID stuff, when people talk about the vaccines, a lot of Republicans now will say, oh, well, when the vaccines came out, you guys said that they were going to be 100% effective. If that's true, then why are Republicans the only people who heard that? Because no Democrat heard that. We all had the memes about, like, did you get the J&J or did you have the Moderna or Pfizer? Nobody thought that they were all 100%. You guys said that we thought that, but we didn't. And somehow you're able to, like, highlight that on our side. And I don't even know what we're arguing about because Because yeah, we don't make any arguments about what's actually happening anymore. It's just like, this is the fantasy land the conservatives want to create, and then we have to fight in that fantasy world all the time, and they're happy to keep the battle locked there for as long as possible, while Donald Trump operates basically as a lawless president who pretends that he is the only member of our government.
It's going to be so nice to be back in power, dude. Oh my God. I hope the Democrats have learned a thing or two. And
careful. Don't let that become your copium.
Kind of get back into power, and they're a bit fierce with it because we need a new version of the party. I was really disillusioned. So let's try to think back. On election night, I was live streaming, and I'd been saying for a few weeks, like we did a panel together a few weeks before, and I said, I think Trump might lose. Or no, sorry, I think Trump might win. And I remember everyone was like, wow, you're a buzzkill. But we were all like, no, there's a legit chance Trump could win. We all knew this, right? But it just kind of smacked me in the face on election night when it happened. And I remember being like, oh, fuck. And then thinking about Elon Musk being in power, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, it's Elon Musk, RFK Jr., all these people have won. And then throughout the next few months, I started to get really, really blackpilled about the entire Democratic Party and how weak they are. And all my friends that used to say Democrats are kind of spineless and weak, I started to sort of see that. And I feel like you're more of a Democratic shill than I am. Like, I feel like you're pretty hard line.
Yeah,
like, you don't,
absolutely.
Like, you don't like when I remember we did a podcast in January and I was trying to criticize the party after we took a fat fucking loss, and you were like, nope. Even now with Biden's immigration, like you just gotta, maybe I'm going a bit off of intuition at that.
Wait, hold on. Podcast in January? When did that happen?
A fat fucking loss, and you were like, nope, a bit off of intuition at that point where I'm just like, it feels like Biden's immigration. I'm doing the thing that, who's that one guy you just talked to recently? Yeah, true.
Which
where
guy?
he's like, I feel like Tom something.
Oh,
he's like,
Tom
I feel
Billiou.
like
My mental model.
I don't know, but
my mentally
no,
mapping
Tom
Billiou.
Bridges
My mental
podcast.
mapping of you says that we have intuitively these disagreements. Like, okay, well, I just gave you 20 examples. Can you give me one thing in counter to what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, I get it. And it just feels like, no, but then I started to get really disillusioned with the Democratic Party earlier this year, just because it felt like they weren't meeting the moment. We weren't fighting back. The Democrats were being kind of pussies. The messaging sucked. And now I'm starting to really like the fight that some Democrats are putting up. Trump's been outmaneuvered a few times. The Democratic shutdown was a good example. We picked an issue. We had the ACA subsidies. We stuck through that. And then Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie in a small little group of Democrats outmaneuvered the entire Republican caucus by putting this discharge petition up to the floor on the Epstein files. And that kind of smacked Trump and Speaker of the House Mike Johnson on the face. And Trump...
Is Ro Khanna even still on our side? Or is Ro Khanna still doing the weird, like, fucking lefty bit where he is, like, trying to signal on Israel versus Palestine, maybe? And, like, the problem is about the rich people, and he's trying to be, like, Indian Bernie Sanders. Like, does anybody know, like, where he is at right now? Is he being weird? Or is he, like, just simply trying to use populist messaging, but is actually using liberal tactics?
Like 2 days before the vote, switched his position entirely, and then all the
rug out from under the Republicans in Congress.
Under Mike Johnson mainly.
Mike Johnson were getting slated. Yeah. So like, so the Democrats are starting to find their footing, but I think this was all me just saying that I hope when we get back into power, we have a little bit more of that oomph, or we've at least learned something over the past 2 years, and it's not some return to norms. And I want to continue. Like, my goal is to continue being somebody in the party who, when I go on these.
Ro Khanna does his thing. Don't worry about it. Okay, because I remember not liking. Sometimes I remember not liking Ro Khanna, for some reason, but he seems to be very politician minded. Obviously, you know, he is a politician, but
and hits, I view it as sort of an exercise in messaging too. Like, how can I beat this Republican messaging? And I know that's how debates are. That's what they're for. But yeah, I want to be someone that can continue to represent like that fight wing of the Democratic Party, so that can be a consistent rather than just receding back into our.
Kick membership integration on Discord is not a thing, but I can see if there's an option for it.
Once we get back into power. And
yeah, even for somebody who traditionally I just usually don't like the way they carry themselves, even Hakeem Jeffries stuffed it up hard when people were trying to do that whole, weren't you guys trying to do $1.5 trillion in healthcare for illegal? It's just the most random made up stuff. They just like, it's the most random made up stuff. And the craziest thing too is they'll like tweet stuff that doesn't even say, I remember they tried to tweet like the part of the bill or whatever. It's like, you just read these 3 pages. It doesn't say this. Tulsi Gabbard did it when the Russian paid operative who somehow.
There is no kick integration option on Discord.
The head of our DNI or whatever, when she released all of the Obama era stuff that proved all the horrible rigging that Obama did, because Obama rigged the deep state against Trump by waiting for Trump to win the election and then telling all the intelligence agencies to say that the election was rigged, whatever her convoluted story was. But if you read the documents that she released, it doesn't actually say anything that she's agreeing with either. And just the ability for these people to completely fabricate anything. I can't imagine how much the wind was taken out of the sails of them too when that shutdown ended and they thought, okay, finally, at least we can message on that the Republicans were the ones to end the shutdown. It's like, oh God, the Epstein stuff. Oh no, it's back. I think that one.
What happened to Tulsi? Isn't she still in charge of whatever the fuck she is in charge of?
Who was was incredibly effective.
And then also,
Bye, Zoe.
the shutdown
See ya.
shit isn't fully over because the ACA subsidy is expiring. It's still a ticking time bomb. It happens on December 31st. So once the ACA subsidies expire, a lot of Americans will directly connect that in their head. Like, I have a friend whose mom is reliant on the subsidies, but didn't know she was reliant on the subsidies until the government shutdown shit happened. So it put that issue to the forefront of her mind. And now, I mean, it's going to be like it's going to be like a House of Cards scenario. I feel like we're on December 29th at midnight. They're going to pass something, and then it's going to save the ass of the Republicans. And I've heard that Trump is working on a solution, but then Speaker of the House Mike Johnson went and had to tell him, like, sir, most Republicans aren't actually down to vote for an extension of these subsidies. So, but I heard he has a plan coming in roughly 2 weeks. So
Yeah, 2 weeks. It's right around the corner. After the illegal immigrant number is 40 million under Biden, and then after we've raised 30 trillion in external investment, and then after we magically find more money from the tariffs.
Do you guys remember when people were telling us that Trump wasn't gonna ever touch SNAP benefits or healthcare because it would be too much of a suicide issue for them to be doing? And then they touched it and nobody gave a fuck? Yeah, me too.
We didn't know we had before, and all the other numbers and figures that this administration makes up. The one thing,
skin tone and sorry, look at the skin tone in the video I just sent you. Then you can keep going. Like, this is some really fucked up,
I tweeted about this today with the orange guy.
really weird shit.
It's
I
pretty
just kind of saw this.
Yeah, pretty crazy. The one saving grace, because I am a Democratic shill, and I will shill for Biden. I think history will remember Biden fondly. The thing that I like the most, only if we do this, the thing that I appreciate the most about the Biden administration is Biden really, really, really tried to do everything the right way by the books. Like Garland.
Biden's probably like one of these artists whose artworks only get incredibly famous and popular after they die, sadly. Like, he's probably somebody who will never see the light of day, like a version of history that puts him in the right before his death, sadly.
Took all the time in the world. The National Archival Records Administration waited all the time before the FBI was notified, and they tried to they did all the dotted their I's, crossed their T's, let the cases get dismissed and everything. So when we come back into power in 2028, I hope that can be the springboard that we can use to be much swifter and more aggressive with whatever exists within the outer perimeter of legality. Because on the other end, you know that they're going to be throwing up, well, don't you want to bring the country together? Don't you want to, isn't this not okay? And it's like, no, we tried that. We tried that. You're never going to find a person who is more like that than Biden, who was a senator for like 492 years. The guy, like, there was not a single assassination in this country where the guy had like a, I'm doing it for Biden sticker on his backpack or something, or where he's listening to Biden Kamala Harris speeches to get radicalized and inspired. Like, Biden was conservatives always say, Biden was the compromise, okay? And you didn't like him, you threw him out the window. So no more Biden, no more Garland. It's going to be way more aggressive on the next administration, and the conservatives deserve it. Like, they messed all of that up more than could ever be imagined, I think.
You didn't like Biden, you're about to get what's standing next to him. Biden was a nice guy. That's what they say. Biden was a nice one. Now you're stuck with us. But yeah, no, it's definitely not good. And I think that I don't know. While Biden was saying that he's a president for Democrats and Republicans, Trump was posting photos and videos of Biden like tied up in the back of a truck. Remember that? Decal of Biden tied up. It's fucked up. Most Americans don't realize it, but the messaging is really important. And I feel like we've been making a lot of progress on that.
That was weird.
People are realizing how fucked up and demented Trump is. His popularity is dipping really fast. There's obviously always going to be that core base, but
people don't realize, it's like you only need to peel off like 5 or 6 percentage points and they're like unelectable. You don't have to turn like half the MAGA movement. It's just a few percentage points and they're basically, sunk.
Dude, I think he's going to go really downhill over the past 2 years. So he doesn't like being out of power. He's really like a child. Like, he turns into a narcissistic child when he's losing power and when he begins to lose ground, like he did on January 6th. My hope is that Trump somehow dies before people like Fuentes is able to get their shit together. Fuentes and Stephen Miller are able to get their shit together in order to take over the party and turn it into an ultra-fascist party that is like in solidarity with everything. Because there is a very small gap of time in which if Trump dies fast enough, then they are able to... Sorry, this is not me Fed posting, okay? I'm just saying, this is not me Fed posting. I'm just describing a reality, okay? In a video game, in Roblox, in Minecraft, okay? If Trump goes away permanently before Fuentes and Stephen Miller is able to gain enough foothold, then there will be no foothold for any conservatives to be gaining that is within my sight, because you don't want Trump living long enough to the point where people begin to solidify their support behind Fuentes, right? Because once that starts to happen, then any kind of
advantage that you're gaining off of a division in the Republican Party is going to disappear, and the new MAGA party is just the Groyper party. And by that point, it's already too late, and you now have to deal with Nick Fuentes. So there's only a small gap of time in which we might be saved. Who knows? Okay.
I could see him legit throwing some temper tantrums. I
Minecraft,
honestly want his legacy.
Again, does not mean Fed posting. I'm against assassination. I am against, death, and I am against all this stuff. Okay, just trying to make this extremely clear. Okay, YouTube.
To be ruined. Thanks. I want it to be bad. I do not want in 50 years when I'm in my old age, for like fucking people to think he's like a Reagan type, where they still are like, yeah, Trump was like a Reagan type. I want there to be clarity that this guy tried to overthrow the government. Like for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be talking about the fake elector scheme. I'm gonna be talking about the Pam Bondi post. My grandkids are gonna be like, Grandpa, what the fuck are you talking about? Who's Pam Bondi? I'm gonna say he tweeted 3 names. 2 of those names were indicted. You wouldn't understand. But yeah, for the rest of my life, for real, like this is some fucked up shit.
And it's so crazy. Like what? Like Dad, why did Trump run with a different vice president the third time? Yeah. Well, he wanted the first one killed. It's a long story.
For real. Fuck.
Yeah. You can't believe that we elected him again, or
we have power and now he's back. Nothing happened. Like fuck.
Yeah. There has to be big accountability stuff. Or else, yeah. Because the question is like, why? Because why wouldn't they just do it again? And I think Democrats need to really think about that question, because it really needs to be discouraged, because it's not just Trump. Like Trump was a figure that could only come about in the Republican Party. Like I bring up the Biden stuff, and you know how Biden basically got kind of like pushed out from all sides because the entire establishment was like, this probably isn't our guy.
Yeah.
The media was not okay. I think Obama came back, was having conversations, not okay. That type of thing can never happen to Trump, right? Like they ride or die with this guy through everything, unless they think he's legitimately about to die, I guess, because he's getting too old or whatever. Yeah, and there are so many examples of so many things. Again, going back to the senility thing, like Biden was senile, like he didn't know what was going on. It's like, can you show me a single video of Biden having an executive order explained to him before he signs it? Because Donald Trump doesn't seem like he has any idea ever what he's signing.
He doesn't know about half of his pardons.
Yeah, for huge dudes. And the guy with the truck guy whose defense attorney, one of his 2 defense attorneys was Brad Bundy. Like, wait, what?
Fuck.
It's so blatantly and you misspoke earlier because you said Trump's crypto scam. You meant Trump's crypto scams because Melania has her own scam point too.
True.
And it's like, how do you even right now? Like, I feel like these are easy asks too. They'll never admit to it. But you could literally be in a panel, like, hey, just curious. You admit right now that an anonymous person that you'll never know about could give a huge sum of money to the president of the United States through Bitcoin, and we would never know. We would never have any idea about it whatsoever, right? Like, how is that an acceptable state of affairs to anybody?
Or people that we do know about, like Justin Sun. He wasn't able to step foot in the U.S. because he had an SEC investigation into him. This Chinese billionaire guy. He put $70 million into World Liberty Financial, like in the Trump coin, and then he was able to step foot in the United States. He went to a Trump dinner, a White House dinner. This is one of my Jubilee props. Was Trump is the most corrupt president in American history. Mm-hmm. It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, and there's a million examples. There's no way that getting through all of them it's impossible. Yeah,
it's fucked up. Fuck, I had something else to say, but there's just so much corruption shit. Let me go through.
How do people do this? How do people go day by day trying to battle uphill like this?
Some of my notes for like his fascism.
The family stuff, dude. Watching that one guy, our envoy, Witkoff.
Oh my God, Witkoff needs to be prosecuted first. When we get back into power, he was advising Putin. He was advising Putin's aide on how to get into Trump's, how to manipulate.
They get along so well, yeah, because they know a lot about things that people should know about, including me. Because I actually don't know a lot of the that shit. Because I actually don't know half of the shit they're talking about. But I can tell they're having a bonding moment. I mean, to be fair, this is the same way that I acted when I found out about the Michigan elector scheme, right? When I found out about the Michigan elector scheme, I was like, how the fuck did this get past anything? How the fuck did this not get talked about in any way whatsoever? Yeah, I mean, the more you find out, the more doomer you feel, right?
Trump. Yeah, that leaked. But even more than that, the fact that the Witkoff is directly associated with that huge business that Trump's kids are associated with, that goes around selling deals all over the world while he's also the envoy.
World Liberty Financial.
Yeah. How dare you ever bring up conflict of interest? And also, and this is hard too, not to hit on my working class people. I think sometimes people don't understand the scales of money involved sometimes with how crazy some of the Trump stuff does. Once you're past $1 million, it's all the same to people. But people don't realize the Republicans, kicked up a storm over Hunter Biden, whose lifetime earnings, I think, is on that Burisma board, were $5 to $10 million. Donald Trump's crypto stuff and the deals that the firm that his son-in-law Kushner worked for. Well, these are on the scales of billions of dollars. It's not even remotely close.
Imagine if Tiny releases a J6 vid before the midterms copium. There is still time. I'm just saying. The reason why we lost the election is probably because Tiny didn't release the Tiny J6 video.
The 9-figure, 10-figure deals that these guys are behind sometimes. But we threw up
all
so
know why
much
we lost,
on Hunter Biden.
don't we?
And there's not a word, not a peep about any of this stuff. It's crazy.
Dude, so there's this one analogy that, or this one example that the New York Times wrote about a few months ago, and it said that Hillary Clinton, when they took office in the early 90s, when Bill Clinton took office, essentially there was a scandal, a months-long scandal, because she turned $1,000 into $90,000 a decade prior, a decade before taking office, because she traded cattle futures. So a decade before the Clintons took office, she turned 1K into 90K. Now, Melania Trump met with Jeff Bezos in the White House and then got a $40 million movie deal with Amazon, and there wasn't even a day of headlines about it. It was just swept under the rug. So it shows...
Oh my God, stop. That's, oh my God, I remember.
How, like, the scale of corruption, the scale of them monetizing the White House is next level. Trump's net worth has gone from $4.3 billion to $7.3 billion over the past 10 months. I was talking to Michael Cohen once, and he thinks that it's more like $10 billion. He thinks it's almost tripled, or I mean, doubled or tripled since Trump took office, which is just insane. But again, people both sides, like, we really need to find a way to message against this both side shit, because they'll say, oh, Nancy Pelosi did this person did this. And it's like,
and don't forget Biden getting 20K from his brother. Worst scandal. I know, right?
It's like
Jesus.
Nancy Pelosi's corruption is a grain of sand on the beach, and Trump's is a sandcastle next to it of just pure crypto Qatari jet corruption. They're building a golf course in Qatar that Trump used taxpayer dollars. It's all fucked up, and now it's just like, yeah. I mean, we've been sitting here listing all the things that we hate about Trump, obviously, for like an hour. But like, how do we break through with all of this shit? Because now we're just circle jerking.
I think it has to be people in the media. One, people can't let people just lie anymore. Like I said, it's Katie Collins, and there's one other interviewer that does a good job at this. But it can't just be that they're just allowed to say a lie and then have that be left unchecked. Like, they need to constantly be called out. They need to constantly be fact checked. Because if you're listening, if you think that
I feel like that's been happening. I feel like that's been happening. But maybe we're not doing it enough. And here's the thing. I'm not saying we should stop doing it. It's just that we must be doing something wrong. I don't know.
0 people died in the Holocaust, and I think that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust or whatever. And then, I'm allowed to go on and argue for 6 million, and you're allowed to go on and argue for 0. And the guy, when you say 0, the guy's like, well, maybe, but the other guy makes a point too. It's like, okay, so maybe the number is like 3 million, I guess. Like, that's not a win. that's not a big W.
Another frustrating part is people keep on thinking about the 2020 win as a win for us. It's not a win. It's not a win when, like, your opponent is an actual fucking rapist and we managed to barely squeeze out a victory. That's not a win.
The W that people think it is, when the other side is just like shamelessly lying. So I think we need more accountability from our media, and it has to be the mainstream media, because holy God, the alternative media sphere is just the worst thing in the world. As 2 members of the alternative media, no offense to either of us. Well, you do mainstream media stuff now, but like,
well, no, but there's no accountability mechanism. Like, I could fuck up in a video and no one's gonna get fired. I'm not gonna like have any repercussions. I'll correct it.
Sure.
Another video, but we could fuck up as much as we want. But I mean, I was on a network recently and I called Pete Hegseth an alcoholic, and they spliced out that word, and I realized that me saying that gives exposure to the company.
Sure.
If I like, you're not allowed to say, so I'm like, oh shit, like they're legit serious about this stuff. But I don't know. I'd want to interview Trump. Like, interviewing Trump would be such an interesting thing. I feel like he'd throw a tantrum.
I never played
I think it's also good, just on that thing real quick, you said, for how do you cut through, it's important to hold them accountable on things they failed, because they're very good at moonwalking away from things. Like Doge, everybody knows that Doge was a monumental failure, and that needs to be brought up over and over and over again. That was another thing I was saying, yeah.
But yeah, we should talk more messaging before. I've got an interview to do in like 30 minutes, but we should talk more messaging. Not only before this debate, but just overall broad debate shit.
Yeah,
no, prep is really important. I can't believe you were like, do you still prep? Because I find prep to be very, very important.
Oh, I guess maybe
I want Adam Mockler to call in randomly throughout the stream, so that he could become a DGG orbiter. Okay, paste. I'll probably never talk with him though, sadly.
Just the level of people that I talk to now. Usually, once I've whittled out like 5 or 6 examples, I'm either going to be really nice, in which case the debate is a waste of time because the other person's just going to pretend not to know anything, or I'm kind of mean, and then the other person just leaves because they can't contend with any of the facts, and then I feel like it's a waste of time.
I'm still pretty early in my like debate career, so I've got a lot to learn, especially in the long form debates. Like, I'm pretty good at the snippy, like get clips and do this and do that. That's like more of a game, right? Yeah. But I'm still working on my broader debate stuff, so I'm excited to get better.
That should be fun.
Yeah, but like I haven't watched Mockler debates. I wouldn't say I'm a fan, just mainly because I haven't watched. anything that this guy has done. But if it's true that people have been describing to me that he has been like destroying opponent after opponent and, you know, like whatever, right? Taking debate tips from watching Destiny, then like, yeah, I mean, good for him.
Yeah, 2026.
Do you think do you see there being a
Seems-
big future with Turning Point USA,
like
or do
a
you think that
bright
like
person.
the loss of Charlie Kirk is probably going to permanently kneecap that organization? I shouldn't use that analogy, but harm that organization, I guess.
Yeah,
That turn of phrase, sorry, you know what I mean.
No, I was gonna use a worse one, but never mind. But I think that originally in the aftermath, I thought that there was gonna I was a little bit worried because a lot of my friends from high school were reposting all the Charlie Kirk shit. Were sending there was a vigil in my hometown, like a really small hometown in Indiana, and my friend posted a video of the vigil, and it was like I was like, bro, the Charlie Kirk effect is massive. A lot of my friends who were just vaguely Christian, who didn't know anything about politics, were reposting him and then liking reels of him saying vaguely conservative shit, and then they go down that pipeline that we were talking about. So legitimately, I was like, okay, I think this had an actual cultural impact. His death, like I think it legitimately moved the pendulum a little bit over. It was like the reverse of George Floyd when people, not this situation, but when people were getting fired after the fact because the cultural pendulum was swung so far in one direction that people were making fucked up jokes about George Floyd, but I feel like there were probably some cancelings or firings back in 2020 that were like, whatever. And now we see the opposite of that. We see people making vague jokes about Charlie Kirk and they lose their job as a teacher. So I was like, we have a legit cultural swing on our hands, but overall, like, you made this point early on, but this is really true. I don't know, like leadership is really important in an organization like that. And Charlie Kirk seemed to be a good leader who could act as someone who kind of kept these different coalitions together, and recreating that type of face or that type of leadership is going to be hard. I still think they're going to be really good at turning people out. Like this event will be a good indicator. This event, I bet, will be huge. I bet they're going to register a lot of voters. I bet they're going to have a lot of young people. I bet every conservative wannabe commentator from across the country is going to be there. It is still going to be the home for all of this. But I can't say that it's going to be more effective now that Kirk's dead, because I think leadership is really fucking important with this stuff. And he built something unique. I mean, he was able to guide this and lead it. And again, he had the vision. I don't know who else has the vision of what's going to happen next. He probably had some ideas on where he wanted to go. And what is I think Vivek took over one of the Turning Point USA things. Like is Vivek, he got griped multiple times. Yeah. Just like, Brylan Hallahan, that kid who gets griped multiple times. Brylan Hallahan, you want to be the young conservative guy who was sitting on the jet.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Brylan Hallahan.
There's a lot of that's more drama. I was gonna say gay accusations. I've seen the Milo Yiannopoulos back and forth about Benny Johnson.
Yeah.
Have you met a single Benny Johnson fan in real life? Do these people actually?
No, I think it's a little bit astroturfed. I've even met Dan Bongino fans. But not Benny Johnson fans. I think that it's a little bit astroturfed. Good. He's a little bit of a slime ball. Like he's like fake charismatic. He'd be a fun one to debate. I was on Piers Morgan with him, I think.
Yeah, he's like 100% rhetoric. Like there's nothing behind those eyes besides just pure sycophantic obsession. But yeah, the person I hate the most, Jack Posobiec. I can't believe this guy's like in the press pool or whatever asking questions. Have you heard anything about this book? Was it like Unhuman or whatever? Unhumans or?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've heard. Yeah, where he.
Oh wait, I think I saw on the subreddit that he made a fucking fanfic about him and Trump.
Isn't he says some fucked up shit in it?
It's basically.
No, it was Trump and a 14-year-old. No, it's Trump and yeah. Trump and some kids.
Really just like his view, his characterization of like political enemies who are like liberals is just like all these people are more radical in their personal lives or in the things that they say behind the scenes. Even when you look at the January 6th stuff in a dark way, it's very funny. There's like pre-Ashley Babbitt and post-Ashley Babbitt. Pre-Ashley Babbitt getting shot. It's so funny because I'm turning on like InfoWars to go back and like listen to this, and they're like, this is the second American Revolution. Like we're here, it's an insurrection, we're taking over, it's a revolution, it's the second birth of the United States. And then after Ashley Babbitt dies, like Alex Jones is immediately like, I saw a lot of Antifa. Oh wait, I think
Benny Johnson is so astroturfed. Even his mom didn't show up for his birth. Jesus Christ, bro. His mom didn't deserve that slander.
There's even a direct quote. I think it was an Alex Jones quote, or it might have been the guy hosting on InfoWars because Alex Jones on the ground. He's like, you can tell that these are real American patriots out here. This isn't Antifa, guys. And then like 5 hours later, Alex Jones like, there's a plot of Antifa. They got in here. I think they were behind everything and blah, blah, blah. As soon as they realized that they weren't going to win. It's so crazy. Ugh.
This book, Unhumans, the foreword is by Stephen K. Bannon. That's a good sign. But yeah, dude, we got a lot of work to do for like global liberalism to be restored, because all of these algorithms are tilted against our favor. Elon Musk currently owns X, and X is like Elon Musk is legitimately fuck, I'm a little bit sick. Elon Musk is legitimately using X to push European countries to the right now. So like right-wing populism is really getting popular in Europe, in the United States, and some of this may be. I think liberals need a stronger stance on like a more clarity on immigration in some of these countries as well, so that right-wingers aren't able to control the narrative. But yeah, there's like a
Benny had to firebomb his own house for attention? What the fuck? I mean, it worked, didn't it?
Broader shift towards right-wing populism that we have to fight back against, and I think liberalism is the way to go. I think we just need to sort of redefine, not even redefine it, just redefine how we message it.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And then also, we have to be careful when people talk. I highly encourage, if you don't know anything about Europe or European immigration or issues related to European countries with specific types of immigration, don't talk about it, because it's very easy to see when, especially like when Constantine, they did this with Hassan, they got him on this. The immigration issues that countries in Europe face is way different than in the United States. And if you try to link these one-to-one with each other, if you're debating anybody knows anything, you're going to get smashed on it. So the issues that we face are very different. Even though the conservatives try to make it sound like it's all the same, it's not. So yeah, I do agree though, that's a different argument that has to be had. But it's hard for European.
Have you watched Tim Pool's Meltdown stream? It's okay content. Can you post it in the server,
to
please?
be defended, I would imagine, when the big boy American country, the big boy liberal country America is kind of, having issues with liberalism on its own. So
yeah, but Russia-Ukraine was a big issue. Like, you got me into that a few years ago, and I've been following that a lot. My entire framework for this war,
Few years ago. What the fuck? This guy might be a long time DH.
like, so far since Trump has gotten into office, he legitimately has given. So Zelensky has given every concession that Trump has asked for since he got into office. Right when Trump got into office, he had the shitty mineral deal that he proposed, and even after he screamed at Zelensky in the Oval Office, Zelensky still agreed to the shitty mineral deal after some negotiation. Then Donald Trump wanted to do a 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, and Zelensky laid down his arms. Zelensky was totally fine. Putin kept fucking bombing and kept firing. Then Trump tried to set up a meeting. He tried to set up multiple peace deals, a 28-point peace plan. Every single time, Zelensky was the one that
I started watching in 2017. That explains
was
so
game.
much.
He was the one that was down to do it, and Putin was the one that was playing
Got groomed.
playing the games. And I don't know if you know Vlad Vexler. He's a YouTuber that uses a lot of really smart frameworks.
Yeah.
He always says that Trump views Putin as a source of narcissistic supply, in the sense that like I don't think Putin has P-tapes on Trump. A lot of my audience thinks that like Putin's paying Trump off. I don't even think it's blackmail. I just think Trump is so simple that he views Putin as a source of narcissism. He sees something in Putin that he sees in himself. He sees value, and then he looks at Zelensky and he views Zelensky as like, he wears worse clothes. He's kind of got a groveling voice. He's a little bit he's got a smaller country. He's like geographically in a weaker position. So he thinks he can just yell at that person and demean that person while he has to roll out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin. So when you look at it through that framework, he then gives these concessions to Putin, not even concessions, but he only demands concessions from Zelensky and demands no concessions from Putin time and time again. And that's essentially how he's getting fucking dog walked this entire time.
Yeah, you have to use like very simple frameworks when analyzing Trump too, because he's so dumb. There's never like a larger picture. And I really do think that narcissism explains a lot of his behavior. Not like clinical narcissism, but just like,
bro, dude, the student becomes the master, bro. Because Adam Mockler is just objectively bigger than Destiny now, right?
he's really obsessed with that. He really
Yikes.
likes that
Oh, no.
concept of like a big man. Like in his mind, the president of the United States just basically does
It's
everything for the
over.
government, and like he doesn't know what Congress is or what they do or whatever, and he can do anything he wants because he's the president of the United States, and he literally got a Supreme Court to sign off on immunity from crimes, for him. So why not? And you can say that you see this sometimes directly in what he says, right? I want my military to treat me the same way that the North Korean military treats their leader. Or for a while he repeated this weird talking point. I know I would bet my whole life to. Sometimes Trump says things and I'm like, Putin just told you this. When Trump started to utter these weird phrases about how like, oh, the borders that we have with Canada are so arbitrary. I'm like, that's 100% that's a Putin talking point. Or this weird thing that he started doing when he was at the Oval Office, or the one where he's got like we bring in other foreign leaders.
I got hit with 5 YouTube ads. I gotta make money somehow.
He talks to the press or whatever, where he starts repeating this thing over and over again. He's like, for Russiagate, Russiagate, they hunted me and Putin. They came after both of us. Like he sees himself as being one of these great leaders, and he wants to do like big country, big power politics. And China's always the one winning and ripping everybody off, and everybody's after America, and Russia and Putin is strong and China's strong. And he wants America to be strong. We should be able to bomb Venezuela the same way that China should be able to maybe take over Taiwan, the same way that Russia should be able to attack Georgia and Ukraine. And Trump just wants to play like that game because it's all fun and games to him, and it feeds into his ego.
How do you reconcile, this is something I've had trouble reconciling a lot, and maybe you won't even agree with the framing of this question, but how do you reconcile Trump being such an idiot on policy and everything like political oriented, but he seems to have decent intuitions on how to play the game? Like he seems to have an intuitive understanding of game
Destiny has the advantage in alt spaces. Probably
theory, even if he doesn't even know what game theory is. Like, I shit you not, this old, decrepit, idiotic guy has outplayed the Democrats like 19 times since I was 14 years old. Like, I've grown up watching him outplay the Democrats, and he's won twice, so he's doing something right. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries both have a higher IQ than Donald Trump, but we can both see that there are times when Trump has outplayed Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. How do you reconcile Trump being able to like win? Or am I just conceding to his framework? I don't know.
I think so. The Republicans are just playing a different game.
Wait, when did that happen? Hello?
And partially it's because of that, and it's because of like the fact that Democrats have to hold the country together that they're able to play that different game. So on the Republican side of things, people forget this. Trump didn't make his money in fucking real estate. Trump was not that great at real estate. He inherited a ton from his dad. He inherited a ton of money. Trump made his money, and Trump got his big recognition with The Apprentice. That's why people know Trump today in the United States. That's why he won the presidency. So Trump is playing this game of like celebrity stardom, and the Republican Party for a long time has basically been preparing their fan base for that type of stardom. You know, we don't look too critically at things. The leaders that we have aren't intellectuals. They're entertainers. Our Michael Savages, our Glenn Becks, our Rush Limbaugh's. You know, we don't have the boring NPR voice. We've got the rock and roll music and, you know, the people screaming at each other on the radio. Like, that's who we have. So the Republican Party was like uniquely positioned to bring an entertainer up. But then also, like, if the Democrats were to have played a similar game, like, you know, we're about to, if this presidency keeps trending in the same direction it is, Obama had to come in after, okay, Bill Clinton was the last budget surplus. Then we had 8 years of Bush, who had trillions of dollars in the Middle East, all sorts of bad, just disaster.
Nice.
Yeah. And then
bad.
Yeah, bad. Yeah. And then Bush Jr. caps off his administration with
He even does the DGG based stim. Every single time something bad happens, he just automatically replies with based. Bro's got the DG
financial crisis, the global financial meltdown. So Obama has to come in.
God.
We have TARP. We've got to deal with all this stuff, you know, bringing the economy back, and then things start to, you know, build back up again. And then after 8 years of Obama, we get Trump. And then after the end of Trump, we have fucking COVID and the mismanagement of that, and everybody hates each other and everything's crazy. We had the largest riots of like U.S. history with BLM and everything else. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but I'm pretty sure 8 of the 10 largest protests in all of U.S. history have occurred during Trump's administrations. So then we have after Trump won, we bring in Biden, who is an amazing bipartisan president, tries his best, despite a historically divided country, passes more bipartisan legislation than we've seen since like the New Deal, just an insane amount of stuff. And then after all of that was put together, now we have Trump again, and Trump is doing whatever he's doing now, and whatever these 4 years are going to look like, we're going to have to bring in another Democrat to clean things up. So while Republicans are kind of like getting to play this game in the background of building the coolest celebrity who's like the funniest guy with the best one-liners, Democrats have to come in and play that game because that's what Americans, I guess, are voting on for whatever reason, while also like trying to hold the country together because Republicans don't want to govern anymore. They don't govern. Congress has done nothing, and the Republican Congress has willingly handed over so much of their power to the president just happily. They don't do anything. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, the Supreme Court too, right? Like, they didn't need to make that ruling where they just gave Trump the powers of a king, right? What immunity from judicial overview when it comes to presidential decisions or something, right? So so again, Trump can just simply commit murder, say that it's under, say that's a part of presidential jurisdiction, and that shit doesn't get reviewed by the judicial courts. I mean, I'm just saying, like, that's pretty blackpilling, okay?
that like
I mean, now what's happened, right? Now Trump and his administration feels so much more comfortable bombing random fucking boats. So that has definitely come to pass, right, at some point. Who knows if we had a reality where the Supreme Court didn't grant Trump this power, or the seat of the president this power, and Trump wouldn't have felt so bold as to blow up these boats with potentially innocent people on them, right? So, yeah. Because even though I'm pretty sure Trump could have still, like, launched the attacks, with or without the jurisdiction, he feels much more confident to do crazy things, just simply because that oversight is removed, right? It's worse, the Supreme Court left the decision on what is allowed to himself. They decide when it's immune or not. Yeah, because I don't exactly remember, because I remember reading the Supreme Court opinion. It's like one of the few things that I've read to some degree. I couldn't finish the entire thing. But it's one of the few things I've actually read. And I remember reading it, and I'm like, this is horrible. That's, yeah, I just don't really have that many thoughts outside of, wow, this is like one of the worst things I have ever read. Like, as in, like, it just seems as though they're trying to make excuses to give Trump the powers of a king, rather than interpreting the Constitution and trying to draw upon their own conclusions to see whether or not it would be constitutional. It's as if they were trying way too hard to give Trump the powers of a king. And, you know, the Supreme Court is just simply conceding that power away to Trump. That's it. They just simply concede that away. Simple as that.
someone, you know who I think would be really hard to debate?
That's it. They just gave power away.
you've done a really good job debating him, but I feel like Tim Pool is uniquely hard to debate, not because he's a clever or good or smart debater, but because he's just really shameless. Probably one of the most shameless debaters I've seen out there.
Yeah.
And he really pisses me off. Like how you feel about Jack Posobiec, I feel about Tim Pool. When I watch him and the way he plays defense and like he did this debate with Pisco where he switched his view legitimately within 60 seconds of saying one thing, he said something else. And if you're not like really on your shit and catching him on all of this, then he'll just shamelessly slime around. And he's got a massive audience. Nobody in the audience even notices when he does this. Someone needs to
forget the Pisco one. You are right on that. Oh my God.
Beasley?
What? Oh, yes, it was Beasley. Yes. The Beasley, I was so nervous and upset, and I was like, oh, Beasley doesn't know all this stuff because they're going so hard on all this stuff. And it was so funny that after both of them, Tim was like red in the face. He was like, you don't even know what you're talking about. You don't know anything, blah, blah. And then Beasley just like very calmly, like in like 2 minutes, lays out all these facts. And then he's like, wait, before we move on, you guys admit that you didn't know anything about any of this because then Tim has to start Googling, like, how do I find out what the charges? Like, this guy's never read an indictment before? Oh my God. Beasley just completely, and it was like 12 different people. Like, every time the camera switched, there was like a new fucking conservative night terror demon on the screen that was trying to argue against him. And oh my God, yeah. No, but you're absolutely right because Tim he gets so impassioned and he says all these things. It's like, hold on, bro, you're completely wrong about all of this stuff. It's so often like that. Oh my God, I was watching Beasley.
Oh,
that was so good. Yeah, go ahead.
Which means there is a non-zero chance that Adam Mockler has watched a Fallout debate between Destiny and Pisco on Wick's panel. It's over.
I was gonna say, like, Tim Pool is the master of bringing up the most obscure shit ever, then pinning you down on it. Like, if you don't know what this riot of 1982 was, and how can you possibly know what's going on in modern day? And I don't know. And then if you try to pin him down, he'll be like, I don't know. I don't have to answer questions.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fucked up. It's an asymmetric. That's why I want to start my own debate show. We're starting our own debate show.
That's good.
And so there's not as much asymmetry in the sphere.
Whoa. What the fuck? Abathur?
The hard thing about that, though, and it's always going to be hard, and the Democrats need to figure out a way to get the fuck over this, because it happened a lot with the misinformation stuff. It will be asymmetrical until the Republicans, like, wake the fuck up and come back to reality. Like, the problem is if you try to make any real policy or enforce any real rule set anywhere, the Republicans are always going to complain because they're always going to be negatively impacted by it because they have lived in delusional fantasy for so long that any rule set is going to feel biased against them. And you're absolutely right about that Tim Pool stuff. Imagine if I had taken $5 million, even unknowingly, from Israel before it's unspeakable. It's crazy.
I get accused of taking 7,000 from Israel.
The AIPAC that claim. I don't even know where I've heard Nadine.
7,000? That's a low number. Adam Mockler could probably get that much from one stream, from donations, from viewers. What the fuck, bro? 7,000. Oh my God. Please.
Do that on Piers a few times. The $7,000 a month, which isn't even compared to the money that
a month
flies around for some of these people and the deals they make is crazy. $5 million.
Okay, never mind.
$4 million. And he's like, well, that was just a normal deal for me. Oh,
a month.
God,
okay.
Yeah.
Someone needs to come on his show and confront him about that. I know a few people have tried. So Sam Cedar tried.
No, Sam Cedar did a good job. Okay. For as much as we hate Sam Cedar today, I'm pretty sure Sam Cedar did a good job confronting Tim Pool. I watched Destiny to watch that. That was pretty good.
Soy Pill did it too, but then during Soy Pill's appearance, Tim Pool just said it didn't happen. He's like, what you're saying didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then Soy Pill tries to bring up the name of the guy in the indictment. He's like, have you ever seen this guy in real life? Just the way that he does this shit. I don't understand. Yeah, something about it really does blackmail me. I keep going back to the same theme of the asymmetry of how like they're able to really slip away with this shit. Mm-hmm. We would never be able to. Like, I wasn't even involved in the chorus Brian Tyler Cohen stuff.
Yeah, the Mossad is broke now.
And I defended it too. I wasn't even involved in it though.
You know what the truth is? I think maybe the Mossad has always been broke. But everybody thinks that they're richer than they actually are, right? When in actuality, they have always valued America's contribution to the Israeli budget, okay?
And people in my subreddit were making threads. People were emailing me asking why I took chorus money. And it's like, dude, Tim Pool is out here with 50,000 live viewers taking Russian money, slamming on his desk about how Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Liberalism, I said this earlier, liberalism worldwide is struggling, and it's because of people like this that command massive audiences. Nick Fuentes is pushing illiberal views and acting like it's normal. He's really sanewashing them in a lot of these interviews too. Like, he's doing a good job on this podcast circuit, coming off as likable. Mm-hmm. And I know this because I'm like a few years younger than him, and my friends are all reposting Nick Fuentes stuff. I have a friend from high school who's black and who voted for Kamala because I was trying to get him to. It took months of debating in our friend group chat. Everyone has a friend group chat they debated and shit like that. We were debating and stuff like that. He's apolitical, and now he's always sending me Nick Fuentes shit, and I'm like,
oh no. I was just about to say, you got to know for Kamala, people should go to you for advice, because the joke I always make is when somebody sends.
This is why it's like completely useless. Like when you guys are trying to debate like, for example, I've given up on debating my parents outside of their viewpoints on China, okay? Because the moment that you try to, I don't know, it's not possible, right? Like, for example, my dad voted for Trump in 2016 and 20 yeah, he voted for Trump in 2016. I yeah, I debated my parents before on stuff like Japan, the Uyghur genocide, China related issues, right? And as far as I'm concerned, it isn't because I debated them is why they move their position sometimes. The reason why they move their position sometimes is just simply because maybe they're getting doubts from some other place. Maybe they're no longer getting the reinforcement that they are used to getting reinforced by, or maybe their bottom line are being threatened. And as Asian people, we are very picky about our money, okay? Um, and I think you just got to treat them like you're talking to someone in a cult. It's as simple as that. Because there's no other way to put about it. They're in a cult, right? My parents finally jumped off the MAGA train. You can't debate them out of it. Just plant a seed of doubt and let them water it. Yeah.
Me a clip. For me, it was Candace Owens. Somebody sent me a clip like, "Hey, can you look at this Candace Owens stuff? I know that in 6 months, this person's completely gone. There's nothing I could say or do to save them." I thought you were going to say you managed to dig this guy out of it, but no. Once they start watching this stuff, yeah, and it's like. The stuff that you have to argue with, I remember for my friend, the first clip was like this guy's arguing about the like MH370, some Ukrainian flight that was lost to the ocean or whatever. And like I clicked this guy's channel. First of all, it's like a 2-hour video with Candace, but I clicked his channel and he believes in the ether for physics. Like he thinks that everything exists. And I'm like, why would I even waste my time debunking this? And it's like, oh, so you're gonna write him off like you get mad that people write you off? And it's like, well, it's not the same. I don't believe in the ether. I'm not a flat earther. And it's like, well, shouldn't you be able to argue against it then? It's like, this is true for some things, but it's not possible to argue against every single minor point. Meanwhile, like you said, yeah, these guys, remember for them, the Hillary email thing,
debate,
which they wouldn't even be able to tell you what happened at the end of the day. Whatever was there was enough for them to talk about it for a year. The big man showing up in the hacked emails by Guccifer 2.0, by the Russian intelligence, by the way, that was enough. The big man, that one phrase was enough for them to talk about Hunter Biden's laptop for 4 or 5, whatever years now. But for Trump, him being on TV with was it the Indonesian guy where he's like, oh yeah, I can set up a meeting for you and Eric, no problem. Yeah. Or for any of the stuff that's for Tim Pool, $5 million illegal Russian.
Yeah, because then you realize it's not about the action themselves. It's about how shameless you can do it, right? Because I bet that if Hillary Clinton, maybe like not even Hillary Clinton, but like if you're doing everything that is evil out in the open, then they'll like you for how transparently you are about your evilness. But then if you do anything less evil in private, then they'll go after you because it was done in private. Like, it seems like people are okay with you doing evil as long as you do it in public. It's very blackpilling.
Money came in and was done illegally. Like, none of it mattered, just right off their back without a second thought.
He gets to lie about bringing in $18 trillion. There's a clip of Zuckerberg leaning over and whispering, like, did I throw out the right number?
Yeah.
And I've seen you debate on this, but my debunking of the entire 18 trillion thing is that he says 18 trillion. When you look at the White House website, it says 8.8 trillion, but none of that is founded by any of these numbers. So like they're counting bilateral trade with India as like these $500 billion as counting towards this total number. There's no enforcement mechanisms in any of these contracts. Like if you're going to have a contract that has continuity between administrations, there needs to be some sort of enforcement mechanism. You need to make sure that you're actually getting what you're saying you're getting. Instead, we have countries that are abusing Trump's childlike mentality and throwing out these massive fucking numbers like, oh, 500 billion. Did I throw out the right number? 600 billion. Yeah. So you have these crazy numbers, no enforcement mechanism, no actual like signed pages. And there's some examples, like there is an EU framework, there is an EU deal where they lowered tariffs. But if you look at it, it's also fucked up because like tariffs were lower before the deal. We tariffed Switzerland where we already had free trade with them, or we tariffed some countries like South Korea. We already had free trade with them. It's all so fucking dumb. There's so much to debunk, but
or the whole auto pen thing where like it's so transparently obvious. They just brought this up to try to get rid of Biden's pardons, and there's like zero evidence of any auto pen. Well, the only evidence that exists is that apparently Trump used some on a bunch that he had to resign. But this is just like a totally fabricated. Like every now and then a conservative will say something, and I'm like, I've never even heard this word before. I'm like, is this the new thing? And then like the next day, every conservative is saying it. I was like, where did this even come from? Ugh.
Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of messaging to do. I've got to start prepping for this interview. I've got in like 15 minutes. But we should start chatting more about broad debate stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. Let's start doing more debate prep because I really want to keep pushing in that direction. I like it a lot. Use some of your frameworks and shit.
Yeah. Otherwise, you need to leave now, I'm guessing, right?
Bro, it's so cute how Adam Mockler is unironically still a fan of Destiny. Like you can tell he's like actually a fan. He's not like this isn't just like oh, we're allies, right? Like you can tell Adam like admires him. It's cute. And Adam is now the master. He is. He is somebody who has paved his own way and he's made it. But yeah, again, I'm happy for him. Good for him.
Yeah, I've got to go prep for this, but
Okay, I'll see you at AmFest in 12 days.
yeah, we'll chat before that. Let's lib out again soon. Let's do some debate prep together once we get the prompts. We can go back and forth and circle jerk about all the bad shit Trump's done
Seems
because no one
fine?
else listens.
Okay, I turned down a little bit.
No, on a serious note though, I gotta get ready for this interview, and let's chat more in the next week or so before AM Fest. We can do another stream.
Thanks a lot. Have fun. Be careful, and good luck with your prep, buddy.
Peace out.
Bye.
See you, brother. Peace out.
That's my number one lib guy. Okay, real quick, because I'm sorry.
Aw. Dude, it's so cute how Steven is happy.